The Guerin Report, brought to you by Diatonic, standing at Yulong. Kia ora and Happy New Year from our team here at the Guerin Report, now sponsored by Yulong. So we thank the breeding giant for their support of our show for the remainder of the season. So much has happened over the last 2 weeks, it's sort of hard to keep up with it all. But one of the most historic moments happened at a harness racing meeting that many of you may have missed. Brother and sister training team Steve and Amanda Telfer set a new record for training wins in a New Zealand season. It was held by two Hall of Famers, the late Roy Purdon and, of course, Barry Purdon, his son, for 31 years. Sort of hit me after they set their record. Most people watching this wouldn't know much about the Telfers. So we sat down with Steve Telfer to find out more about the family, the record, the massive operation, and what it's like training with your sister. Well, Steve, let's start with the easy stuff for the Guerin Report viewers who don't know much about you. Where you're from, and I can ask you this, I suppose. How old are you now?
All right, Vic, yeah, I was born in a little town called Broken Hill in the middle of Australia, so had a bit of movement around. Ended up the family settled in country New South Wales, a little place called Area Park, just outside Temora. And yeah, so that's where we grew up, and life went from there.
Okay. I recently believe a birthday around about the same time you set the record, so what number are we up to? I think it's easier for blokes to ask each other that.
Yeah, 55 in a few days.
Good.
Yep, so yeah, 55.
Same.
Just a number, mate.
It is. Yeah, we'll talk about other numbers later. What about family interest in harness racing? Because I know there is harness racing in Broken Hill and Temora. Yep. Do you come from a harness racing family?
Yeah, very much so. My father pretty much done it all his life. Hurt his knee as a real young fella, and sport was out. So he went into training and driving and horses, and he's done it all his life. Yeah, passed away a few years ago, but you know, he was doing it right up until the end. And my mother was she actually drove in races as well.
Oh wow! And
she was actually one of the first ladies to get her driver's license in Australia. I think the only lady before her was the great Margaret Frost. So yeah, so a lot of background in it.
It must make you tremendously proud, as someone who's lost his parents as well, to know that they got to see you be very successful at a very high level.
Yeah, very much so. You know, I always kept Dad involved in what we were doing, and Mum still is. She's not passed away, but she was just recently over with us for a month in Christchurch during the Cup Carnival, and she's fitting well and she looks great. So yeah, no, Mum's very active and supportive of what both Mandy and I are doing. So yeah, it's been great that Dad saw the levels that we got to before he passed away.
Okay, how do you get from Broken Hill to Temora to Roy and Barry Purdon's place?
Yeah, well, another move. After I finished school, higher school certificate, Dad, we moved to Adelaide, and I had a job. I worked at Ford Motor Company, more involved in sport than racing at this stage for me. Aussie rules football.
So you played?
Yeah, I played to a pretty good level. I actually trained. I went to Adelaide and trained with a team over there called Woodville, which is one of the premier teams in Adelaide.
So is that like VFL standard?
Yeah, SANFL standard. Yeah. So like Port Adelaide and Glenelg, that made main teams, and didn't quite make the team, and played football for money in the country, and worked at Ford Motor Company for 5 years. Okay.
Do you have I have to ask everybody who's ever lived in Victoria this question, do you have a favourite team now? Because they all seem to have one.
Yeah, no, Collingwood. Collingwood is always...
Oh, no! There goes our viewership. Oh, no!
Collingwood is, always been Collingwood Magpies.
Let's move on before we lose it, before anybody else turns off. What about New Zealand? How did you end up here?
Yeah, well, when I was in Adelaide, left Ford Motor Company, I started working for John Justice in Adelaide, and John and Lisa, a very successful stable, and he moved to Melbourne and asked me to go with him, so I went to Melbourne with him for I couldn't tell you how long, a year or two, and then just out of the blue saw I was staying with a mate called Peter Taylor, who was editor for the National Weekly,
yes,
Trotting Weekly.
I know Peter.
And I was staying with him, and he actually pointed it out to me, and so I applied, and I think Katrina or Barry, they rang me within a day or two, and long story short, it went from there, and I moved over here in June 1994.
What was it like working for Roy and Barry Purdon? Because it's absolute top of the tree stuff. What did you learn through that process?
It was amazing, even driving in the drive, and it was getting towards the end of the work day. I remember it, and there was 55, 60 horses there in those days, and Tony Barron was there, Todd McFarlane. A lot of the people have gone on to be successful in their own right, and amazing setup, and just great to work for. Time flew by. I spent a total of 11 years there in 2 different stints, and just amazing people to learn from, and they treated me great.
What did you learn from them that you've taken into your training career?
Yeah, just the 1%ers. The 1%ers make all the difference.
Like what?
Yeah, just the care for the horse. Getting everything right, looking after the horse, checking it daily. Just little things, brushing it. And looking over it constantly to see any change, any development that needs fixing straight away. Little 1%ers on the track, getting your preparation right. Everything for me comes down to preparation. If I go into a race or a big race and the preparation's right, I'm right. So,
when you were working for Roy and Barry on what's now Barry and Katrina's property, they had a smoko room. Everybody in harness racing's been into it, and the story's been told a few times, but there was a commemorative photo and list of horses there from their record set in 1994 when you got there, of 168 wins. You used to look at that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
How does it feel now, knowing that you, after all these years, have managed to go past that? That must be a very surreal feeling when you think of that Steve Telfer and this Steve Telfer.
Electric King now awaiting the trail, and Blackjack about to be brought to the outside. Ultimate Council's at the top of our Santana mark. Electric King, Blackjack, good old days arriving late in the piece. Electric King the inside, trying to go again, Ultimate Council, but it's Electric King. It's a record that stood for 31 years. It stands no longer. The Telfer team have got the record in the bin. Too good here, and they will grab the record. It has stood for 31 years. Roy and Barry Purdon back in 1994. They've been level for a few days now. It was a matter of time. Steve and Amanda Telfer and Stonewall Stud will become the most winning season, will grab the most wins in a season.
Yeah, look, it is. Very proud, I suppose, to what we've achieved so far. It's quite humbling to think that we're about to, or just past the number of 168, which looked such a big figure for years and years. So really humble, really. Yeah.
What about Stonewall Stud and Steve Stockman? Because you're now the public face of this gigantic machine. How did that relationship start?
Yeah, well, look, while I was at Barry, Jill and Steve had horses with Barry, so I got to know them both fairly well during that period. It wasn't long, when I left, Jill and I went back to Australia, and we worked for Kevin Seymour up in Brisbane.
You've been around?
Yeah, I've been around, travelled around a bit. Yeah, so at this stage, still hadn't had a trainer's licence, so just worked for Kevin and broke in all the horses, and then they went down to John and Luke McCarthy and Natalie and Grant Dixon. We got to race a couple up there, but not many. And then Yeah, we'd been over there a couple of years, and Jill was quite keen to return home, and you know I like it here in New Zealand too. So we came back to the farm, and when we came back, we had I think it was 2009. We had 6 horses to break in, and that was our number, and that's how and back with Steve on the farm, and yeah, everything's gone on from there.
Okay, let's talk about the size of it, because there'll be people watching this who are galloping people, or they're not even racing people. Give us an indication of, there's 2 stables,
yes.
So one in Christchurch or Canterbury, one in South Auckland. How many horses in both? How many staff work at the peak of the season? And
yeah.
Obviously, Steve also breeds horses. So how many brood mares or foals are floating around? Because I'm not sure I can keep up.
No. Look at. I'm glad Jill does all that. So yeah, she's got everything under control. We're trying to get 42 mares in foal this year.
Wow.
And you know we're heading to the sales in February as well. So that gives you on the breeding side of it. In Auckland, we're training about 65 horses.
And how many staff does that take?
In Auckland, there is about 15.
Okay, and what about Canterbury? Because it seems almost as big, if not bigger.
Canterbury, they're probably training 65. And they've got another 20. They've probably got 90 horses all up, where the spelling and young ones breaking in. We've got 65 all up, training probably 45, yeah. So that was just to be clear on that, yeah.
Okay. Who runs all this or keeps up with it? Because I'm sure you run the day-to-day training aspect, but I'm talking paperwork and syndication and just where all these horses are at any given time. How's that done? Yeah,
well, my partner Jill does most of that, or just about all of it. She's great with the syndications and you know, keeping the owners informed on what we're doing and sending the bills out to keep everything paid up for. We have a spreadsheet that we run, and it so Steve can keep a tab on the north and south, and Christina Dennis-Fostova, let me get that right, does it up here, and Mandy does it down south, and keep it updated so we can, you know, you can look up the horses and see where they're at at any given time. Okay,
so can you walk into the stable and excuse the ignorance of this question and look at a horse and know what it is?
In Auckland, yes. In Christchurch, probably not. Yeah, so you know, I would have seen them in a long time. As you know, I spend probably most of my time in Auckland, and Mandy and I just liaise virtually every day. She does a great job. She's early on I was very hands-on and what they did down there, but you know, now she's you know, well and truly in on the program, and she takes a lot of that pressure off me and does a great job.
Okay, Mandy is your sister Amanda, who is obviously a huge part of this training partnership. She is also now the record holder. Yep. You don't see a lot of brother and sister training partnerships. You see husband and wife, fathers and sons, daughters and fathers, and you see brothers training together, but you don't often see brother and sister. Now, what's that like? Because I suppose it's a lot harder for a guy to swear at his sister than it is his brother.
Well, yeah, no, I'm sure it, she lets me know when I've done something wrong. She's very, her love and dedication for the horse is amazing. You know, the hours she puts in, just probably second to none, really. And you know, she's been, well, part of my life for a long time, so we've always got on well.
Were you always close to your sister? Like, I've got 7 sisters, so some you're closer to than others, just because of geography.
Yeah, we were early, and then I went through a stage in the middle when I first moved over here where we weren't probably so, you know, close as we were. And then, you know, certain things happened to Mandy, and I said, oh, you know, maybe you want to come over here and try it over here, you know. You know, for me it would have been great to have a sister, because in my own family, you know, enjoying the ride with me. And she was here a few years, and then, you know, she loved it, and she used to serve all the mares when we were doing them at the farm. You know, she's very good. And then the opportunity come for this Christchurch expansion, and Mandy came on as trainer probably a little bit before that.
Okay, Steve Stockman is the overlord, I suppose, of Stonewall Stud and therefore the majority of Team Telfers horses. Does he discuss his plans with you? Does he say, we want to set up a Christchurch stable, I want to bring this many mares, or does he have a vision and then he just says to you, implement this, please?
Well, a bit of both. You know, he's a very successful businessman in his own right, and everything he does, he likes, as you've seen from the properties, he likes to do to the nth degree, and he likes to be successful. So, you know, look, he's taken us along on that ride, you know, and he doesn't get overly involved he doesn't get involved at all in the day-to-day running of the stable, or, you know, Mandy and I do all that with Jill, and but you know, he does set little he sets little this would be nice to get this sort of thing, you know, and it'd be nice to do this, and you know, and first of all it was win the premiership, and you know, and then it was just little steps to keep raising the bar, and you know, we've you know, he's taken us along and we've taken him along as well. So
is it daunting when you have such, because he is a force of nature, Steve, even though he's quite a quiet force of nature, is it quite daunting to have someone driving at you constantly to say we want to get better?
No, not really. No, he's those sort of things don't affect me too much. I think you know, it's something that I would like to think I've always strive to do the best that we can, and get the best, and he doesn't come in and say, like this year when we sat down, he said, oh, you know, what do you think? And I said, oh, we've got some good horses, we've got teams spread out all over the place, we've got just about all areas covered, saving except for trotters, and you know, I think we can have a good year, you know, and then we spoke about it, and I said, well, that's something that I would like to achieve, 168, you know, just knowing, having been educated in that system, and you know, it'd be quite special for me to achieve that.
You and Steve, but Steve putting the hand up has made a gigantic impression at the yearling sales, and you seem to be very thorough about it. In the galloping sales, there's a lot more x-raying and scoping. It wasn't part of harness racing sales for a long time. You guys seem to have gone down that path?
Yeah, we do. On certain horses. Yeah, we don't do them all, you know. Yeah, everyone has a look through the book. Steve, Jill, myself, Mandy, you know. But then Jill and I go around and have a look at them all, you know, on the farm by ourselves. Not a part of the tours, just so we get more time to scope over them.
What do you like? What do you look for?
Well, yes, probably goes back to the days when Barry and we used to buy them. Like I like them with a good jaw. I like them with nice ears and a good strong eye, good strong head. Okay,
so you guys always sit in the same box at the sales, and it's all glassed in so everybody can see you. What's it like when Steve starts getting to that 200, 250, 300? Do you ever say, boss, calm down here? Or do you think to yourself, look, he's not going to stop anyway, so I'll just let him do what he wants?
Yeah. No, look, I give him, you know, you give him your opinion, you know.
Does he listen?
Sometimes. most of the time not. No. But he, you know, he's got his idea in his head as well. And we've sat down and gone through it for weeks and weeks, and he's got all the information there in front of him. He's got, you know, their conformation faults, their, you know, what's good about them, what's not about them, their breeding, their heart rates, everything, you know, and just and he'll make a bit of a decision on his own. But if there's one that's getting, you know, hold on, you know, but yeah, and when he gets to a point, he'll turn around and ask, and like sometimes I've said, yeah, keep going, you know, but probably most of the time I'm saying just put the hand down.
What does it feel like when you go after one and it's 200 or 250 or something serious and it doesn't quite work on the track?
Yeah. Is
there pressure in that, or is Steve, because he's paying for them, is he very realistic about that?
No, look, I say it's funny to say, but there's no pressure from Steve whatsoever. He lets us do what's required for the horses and what's needed at the time. And yeah, he doesn't sit there and say, oh, that we paid this much for this one, we've got it, you know, it's give and take, you know. There'll be ones you get there, when you're buying in the numbers we are, there'll be ones you buy for, you know, there'll be ones you buy for 20 or 30 that make up the difference, you know. to level things out.
Once you get them home and they're broken in and they're in the system and they become racehorses, what's the basic Team Telfer philosophy? Because some people like to work them hard, feed them hard. Some people like to work them less and race them more often. Some people like to, these days, canter them or swim them. What do you guys tend to try to do to fit them into a system?
Look, I think it's important for the trainer to decide how he wants to go about it, and then adjust the horse accordingly. Like, there's no point feeding the horse hard, working it light, feeding it hard. You've got to get that happy medium between what you're prepared to do and what your current situation or services provide. So, when we get them home as babies, look, I don't believe that you actually need to train the babies too hard. They're natural athletic. They haven't had a chance to get that fat tissue or anything like that. So a lot of the babies, it's just education. Manners is the main thing for me, great manners, and just chiseling off the rough edges into a racehorse. I don't believe you have to, personally train them hard to get there at that stage. As they get older, they get stronger, they get more fat tissue. You need to adjust your training. So the training steps up from 3, and then it steps up at 4 again when they're an older, more mature horse. So, for a baby, they probably work a lot of mile work. 3-year-olds, mile and a half, and then as they get older, they do a lot of 2 miles work and step back down. We train them every second day,
So what do they do in the day in between? Do they jog?
Jog.
Okay.
Yeah, they have a wee jog in between. Mandy's got a lovely straight track, 1,200 metres, and that adds another aspect to the training, just raising and lowering the heart rate.
So just a question there. I've seen the straight tracks overseas, and often people train them in strings, like 4 or 5 will work together in that way, so the weakest one learns to keep up with the fastest one. Is that what you guys do on the straight track?
Yeah, they work in, with our track you can comfortably work, it's 1,200 metres long. They work between 4 and 5 800-metre heats, and with a spell in the middle at the end of each heat, and the times just gradually work down. So they seem to, it's a really different aspect, and being down there and seeing how it works, they not all, but the majority of horses really enjoy it.
Does it help with the joints because they're not leaning into the bends?
Yeah, definitely, and it helps with, what it helps is, it helps them obtain their speed, and with their speed, their confidence to carry that speed, where you're not having to worry about steer them around the bends and getting offline and hitting somewhere.
The numbers are huge. Like, well, I can't even remember who the first winner was of 2025, but once you start getting to 168, the 169 and into 170s, it's massive. It's been done now. 2026 stretches out in front of us.
Yeah.
What's the new mountain to climb for Stonewall Stud / Team Telfer?
Well, as a personal goal, I know that, and I've had this at the back of my mind for quite a bit. For me, it's 1,000 wins, 1,000 training wins.
So you're up to 515-ish with Amanda, or Mandy.
Yeah.
How many would you add yours to that?
Yeah. Well, I'm on 864.
Oh, I've got a feeling you'll get there.
Yeah. So it's a personal thing. 1,000 wins is, it's in New Zealand. It's quite a big.
You might get there this year.
Well, if we have another year like this year, then that number will come up. But as a Stonewall goal, look, I think we're capable of getting to 200 wins, and that'll probably be a goal that we'll set. It may not be this year, but I think in the next couple of years it's certainly achievable. You
haven't had a lot of trotters. In fact, out of the 168, 170, there's only 4 or 5 trotting wins. You and Steve and Jill have gone to the sales and actively bought better bred trotters. So is that something you want to? You mucked around with a couple of cheapies. Have you said to yourself, now we know what we're doing, let's get into this? Yeah,
absolutely. The numbers are pretty skewed in favour of pacing in total of wins in the training premiership. We haven't had a lot of trotters. We've just dabbled in a few. We've got some very good yearling 2-year-old trotters coming through in the breeding and like what they're doing. But also we've bought fillies which we can continue to breed from, and that'll be an ongoing part of our operation.
There's been some huge moments in recent years, and I've known you for a long time, and I can honestly say I've never seen you high five, I've never seen you fist pump.
No.
So do you actually celebrate, and do you get to a certain octave of excitement, or are you somebody who likes to keep it controlled?
Yeah, I definitely like to keep it reserved and controlled.
Why is that? Is it part of who you are?
Yeah, probably a little bit of part of who am I. I'm pretty. I like to be gracious. Gracious in winning. It's a little bit of who I am. I don't show any great expression or change of expression. It's just.
But have you had a Group 1 or something that means a lot to you, where you've given it a little bit of a pump, or just privately, or high five? Have you ever high-fived anybody?
No, probably back when we were playing in the footy days, it was more of a team-orientated sport. But not really, Mick. No, it's probably this year. Probably got close when Stella Rouge won the Harness Millions. We had a little bit of problem with her, and she sat parked and beat a good bunch of fillies, and she's a lovely filly.
All right, I'm presuming with all this going on around you don't have many days off. So what do you do on a day off? Like, I know you love your sport, you love your cricket. What does a day off look like?
Yeah, look, Vast Jill, she'll tell me that I don't get too many days off, but...
do you have a beer? Are you a beer man?
Rum and Coke.
Oh, rum and Coke. That's fair enough. Same effect.
Yeah. No, we have a beer occasion. Like, down in Christchurch, I was down there for 6 weeks with the Cup Carnival, and we after the races, Tim and the staff would sit and watch the races and have a beer, and just talk about things. So a day off is, look, to be honest, day off is rest for me.
And I believe you don't mind, if it's not watching the cricket, maybe watching the gallops. Is that just a nice release where you can love the horse but not be emotionally involved in it?
Yes, exactly right. Yeah, like it's all about sport for me. So, races Friday night pick in Auckland, get up Saturday morning, do your work, and then it's a little rest, and then watch the Australian gallops and the sport, and football, NRL, Broncos, so just really sport for me, watching sport and just relaxing.
Okay, on this show, when we talk to the big dogs, and you're now the big dog, you have the premiership record with Mandy, your sister.
Yep.
We give them a magic wand, and you're an educated man. If I gave you a magic wand to change anything, probably in harness racing, and I've got a funny feeling I might know what this is, but what would you like to see changed, or dare we say it, fixed?
Well, I stay out of everything along those lines. Better educated people know what to do when the sport's out of it. But the magic wand would, being spent so much time up here in Auckland, is to just have, don't know how to, just have Auckland travelling better. There's been a lot of hiccups and everything, but just to have Auckland travelling better and better than it is.
Same, I agree. Mate, thanks for taking the time to let everybody watching the Guerin Report know who you are and what you're about. Congratulations to Mandy, who I usually call Amanda, to Jill, to Steve, to everybody involved in this great business, mate. And I know how special it must be having come through the Purdon system to be the new record holder. So on behalf of us, congratulations.
Thanks, mate. No, appreciate it.
Our thanks to Steve, congratulations to him and Amanda, and that record now sits at 171 wins. Next Monday on the Guerin Report, we start our countdown to the 100th yearling sale held in this country by talking to two of the godfathers of the sales industry, Sir Peter Vella and Joe Walls, an exclusive on the Guerin Report next Monday at 8 p.m. The Guerin Report brought to you by Diatonic, standing at Yulong.